yourself.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and to speak to your audience. But yeah, a little bit myself. I guess I'm from Canada, so the very east coast of Canada, a little place called Prince Edward Island. And a bit about me, I guess I originally studied to be an engineer and got my degree and everything, but never used it. So I got to the world of entrepreneurship and just really loved, I guess, the challenge and really loved the thing of creating something from nothing. It was entrepreneurship, so I've really just pursued that since I left school and kind of haven't looked back.
That's great. So what was the first step you took into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think for me, and this is something that I think a lot of people, this is kind of how they first discovered the world of entrepreneurship. For me, it was the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. So that was the big kind of turning point for me and kind of opened me up to these different possibilities. Followed that up with, the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss was another big influence on me. And then I also, in my school, I was lucky. So for my school, was voted one of the best in Canada for entrepreneurship. So we had a really good entrepreneurship program, which allowed me to kind of explore that a little bit further while I was still in university. So that was kind of the first initial exposure, I guess, to that kind of whole world.
Yeah, that's amazing. But today you work as a consulting coach, or what's your title?
Yeah, so right now, I don't know, titles change all the time, I guess, but really what I do is I help entrepreneurs that want to make an impact on the world and help them be able to, craft a really great message that, attracts people and helps them, just get their message out to the world. Because that's what one of the things I know that a lot of entrepreneurs and coaches and kind of that stuff struggled with was, they have this really great mission to, have a good impact on the world. But when it comes to getting that message out to other people and other people that kind of understand that, that's one of the big things a lot of people struggle with. So I help people craft that message and get that out in front of and start to build their audience. Right.
So usually when I know myself, because so many coaches do something because they have themselves gone through that. Is that the reason for you as well? Or did it start for a whole other reason?
Yeah, no, very, very true. And that's one thing, I notice a lot too, that a lot of times people who are in this kind of, coaching type space, it comes from the experience that we've been through and wanting to improve that. So, and not to have people to go through those same experiences. So that's absolutely the same case for me. When I first started, same thing, I had this kind of impact I was trying to create on the world. But I really didn't know about marketing. I didn't know how to go about really getting the word out there. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they have this whole, build it and they will come kind of mentality, which most of us have heard not to do that, but we still kind of do it. And I was guilty of that as well. So I struggled when I first started to really get my message down and to, be able to market my business. So absolutely, that's a big part of why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing, is to help people not make the same mistakes that I did.
Well, that's amazing. Teach others by your own mistakes and, shorten that point for other people. That's a great thing to be doing. So how do you usually go about when you help other coaches, entrepreneurs?
So one of the biggest things I think, and kind of where you start, is helping people kind of gain clarity about what it is that they're trying to do. Because I think one of the biggest things is if you can get clarity on your message and you know exactly, what it is that you're trying to do, what kind of, result that you're helping your clients or your customers get, getting really clear on those things, I think, is the first big step. Because once you truly kind of understand that and have clarity on that, like the things that you do actually become really, really easy. It's getting that clarity at the start. That's the really hard part. So that's the biggest thing, is helping people really get clear on what it is that they're doing and, what results they can help get their clients. Because once you gain that, a lot of the other things that people think are complicated, like technology or, creating content, all of those things that people think are hard are actually really easy once you have that clarity, know exactly what direction, know exactly what are the kind of things that you need to get out there.
Right. Because I know, and because I was in a workshop, I guess you call it, where you were actually talking about, the bridge between when you're having, for example, a workshop and when you're going to start selling something, you're going to sell yourself. And that bridge in between, that was something that it really got to me because that's kind of the thing that I have had problems with. Because I'm that kind of person. I want to help people and so on. But then the other part is like, how do I make money out of this? And I love your example when you gave it to us. Have you struggled with that yourself, or do you find that quite easy to have that, from telling people what you do to start selling people?
Yeah, well, that was something, I guess I don't think in that exact sense, I didn't have as big of an issue, or at least not that was really apparent to me. There probably still was, a little bit of, that kind of, that resistance, but not a lot that I noticed. But one of the big things was I was really, when I first started out, and a lot of people maybe don't know this, but I first started out in direct sales, and that's kind of how I built a lot of those skills. It wasn't just trying things out online. I was actually doing this kind of in person with people and going through a lot of these things that I teach now, but doing that in person kind of setting. And when I first started that, like the reason why I got into that in the first place is because I was uncomfortable as hell doing it. Like I knew, like I was really nervous. I was really shy, and I knew that I needed to kind of get over those fears, and I knew I needed to build that kind of skill set to be able to get the message out there about my business and what I was trying to do. So that's why I got into direct sales. And I had a bunch of mentors while I was in that space, in that world. And one of the things that I remember people teaching me, because what I found was, you have different parts of your presentations, just like you have, like you said, you have, your workshop piece, and you have your kind of intro part, and then you have, the sales pitch, the scary part for a lot of people. And each of those blocks separately, if you ask someone to just talk about, that part, it's not too bad. But what happens is whenever there's that transition between, teaching to selling, or from, the intro piece to get into the teaching, when you have this transition period, what happens is people kind of get a little bit nervous. And then when people get a little bit nervous, then that's whenever they forget what to say. And then if they forget one thing, then it makes them more nervous. Then it's just a really, kind of vicious cycle. So one of the things that a lot of my mentors taught me, and then I ended up passing on to a lot of the people that I mentored in direct sales, was this idea of having these transition sentences. So it's just kind of a little mental cue, essentially, is, okay, I'm nearing the end of this part of the presentation, of the speech, or whatever it is. And then, so I know that this is the next thing I need to say. I memorize that little bit, and that kind of leads me into the next piece. So it just kind of provides that smooth transition. It just helps people to stop being nervous, because I know that was a big thing for me. So I found that really helped me, and it helped a lot of the people that I pass that on to as well.
Right. So you talk a lot about mentors that you have had and so on. Do you have a lot of mentors and coaches today?
Yeah, so I think definitely have like a lot of mentors, a lot of people that I follow and see what they're doing. And actually at the moment, I'm actually debating between a couple different kind of higher level coaches that I'm looking at hiring to kind of take my business stuff to the next level. But I think there's no shortage of mentors, whether that's an actual in-person, one-on-one kind of coach, whether that was, some of the books that I was reading, whether that's some of the videos and stuff that you're watching in different groups. I think there's definitely lots of mentors out there, and it's just, picking a couple that really resonate with kind of your message and resonate with what you're doing. So absolutely, I have a ton of mentors at the moment. A lot of them are in different forms, but I'm looking at getting, you know, that kind of traditional mentorship with kind of the one-on-one, but definitely lots of different places to get, you know, get knowledge and be able to kind of, you know, upskill yourself. Because I always believe you can always improve, right? So always looking at different ways to do things and ways to improve, you know, what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's great. And I think I find it quite funny because many of the coaches that I know, they have coaches themselves, often several coaches. You know, you have the marketing coach, and then you have, you know, the mindset coach, and so on. And this is something that I want to bring out to people that aren't coaches. I mean, you know, everyone, I think everyone should be having a coach or coaches, because I do believe that it makes you improve. I mean, like you said, I think we all can be better, and we all can, you know, enjoy more out of life. But at the same time, we need that help. We need that push as well. So I think, you know, it's great to have someone that pushes you to take that next level, to take that, you know, that next step outside your comfort zone. And, you know, I have some friends that are, you know, they say, yes, I'm really nice, but when I'm coaching you, I'm not that nice anymore, because I want you to, you know, go further than you are capable, or you feel capable of right now. So how are you? Are you like the kind coach, or are you, you know, like, come on, let's do this?
I think I'm probably a bit more of a direct kind of person. I would say, and you know, on either end of the one of them's kind of like, you know, what is it, like a kick or cuddle, right? It's like people like, you know, give you a kick in the butt and tell you to get going, and then some people are kind of like, oh, you know, it's okay, like we'll work through this together. I think I'm definitely more on the kick side of things. Definitely a bit more. That's the thing. It's different for different people, and that's why, like, one of the things I notice is a lot of people, whether they're starting out like coaching, whether it's any other business, a lot of people, you know, are really scared because, oh, someone's already doing what I'm looking to do. And one of the things that I found is, like, it's one thing that stops people from starting, but one of the things I don't think it's a really good excuse, because, you know, just because someone else is doing it, then that doesn't mean that people won't come to you instead, because, you know, some people will just resonate with your message more. Like, I remember speaking with someone, and I'm assuming a lot of the people that follow you maybe kind of know Tony Robbins and that crowd, but, you know, there's some people who just don't really jive with Tony and the way he does things. He's really intense. Right? He's more of the kick in the butt kind of person. And some people just think that's just not them, right? Like, they want someone who maybe does the same kind of stuff as Tony, but right, there's a little bit more, you know, come on, we can do this together, right? We'll go arm in arm, and you know what I mean? So it's different people respond to different, you know, different messages or different ways of saying things. So even if someone out there is doing something similar to you, like, the way you can craft yours and the way you come off is going to be different. So there's going to be a different kind of people that's not attracted to them, but they're attracted to you and what you do. So absolutely.
Yeah, totally. No, I agree. And I think that's like the good combo between Tony and Dean, because Dean is like, so, you know, he's like that kind of buddy kind of feeling. So they're very opposite. And I love that, because it kind of creates a balance between the two of them. So have you been, I mean, who is, or which are the people that have influenced you the most?
That's a good question. I think one of the people who I really kind of, you know, aspire to be like is someone like a Richard Branson. I don't know if everyone's kind of heard of him. He's definitely big in, like, I noticed, like, he's big for me, but I'm talking to some of my friends, for example, like, they're like, who's that? Richard Branson, right? If people don't know him, he's one of the most successful entrepreneurs, I think, owner of, like, you know, Virgin Group and Virgin Airlines and Mobile. He has, like, he's kind of like Tony, right? He's got 100 companies.
Right.
but really his big kind of philosophy and what he's trying to do is he really believes that entrepreneurship can change the world. And a lot of the companies and stuff that he does is really geared around how can we use entrepreneurship as a tool to change the world. So, he's tackling some, really big global problems like, poverty and literacy and hunger and all those kinds of things. It's a different scale than where I'm at now, but definitely someone that I look up to in terms of kind of the philosophy and this idea of, business as being a tool for positive change in the world. So I really respond, and I really kind of love that message, and something that I try to do, as part of my business as well, as seeing how we can help other entrepreneurs that are making a positive impact on the world. How can we help, magnify and amplify that?
Yeah. No, I totally agree, and I do know who he is. But yeah, I think, and there's so many people that actually resonate with him. I don't know if, and the funny thing is that, I mean, he's he's not that kind of person that it's out on the same way as like Tony Robbins or Dean Graziosi or anything like that. But there's still so many people that are aware of everything that he's doing and that he has done. And, the whole story from starting Virgin Airlines and, all the projects that he has, which is wonderful. And I love that. I love the fact that he seems like an everyday guy, just that he has a lot of companies and a lot of things going on, which is great. I mean, and why wouldn't that be something to thrive to, right? That's a great person to have as
definitely. Goal. One thing, like I remember seeing like things of him, and he's like, no, definitely. I think, like, again, like I've never met him. I hope to one day, but like he just seems like such a fun like guy to be around. Like all the stories and stuff you see of him is him just having a good time, really enjoying the company of people, and really just kind of he's probably more of like the life of the parrot kind of guy, right? He's just someone who's just a lot of fun to be around, and like I said, obviously on the side also owns hundreds of businesses and runs this massive empire, but just seems like a really awesome guy to be around. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So how about the mindset part? Because I mean, you always have someone, like you said, that you have someone to look up to and someone that you want to thrive to, get to that level. But I know that having a business, it does take a lot of mindset and a lot of work on yourself and believing in yourself. I mean, believing in what you do. How do you handle that?
I think definitely, like, mindset is a huge piece of it. It's one of the things that I kind of, teach a little bit as well, is because any kind of transformation that happens usually starts with some kind of change in mindset. For me, it's kind of a hard one, because I guess I've always been pretty motivated to kind of go after kind of my goals. And in terms of the mindset, I think it's more like, for me, one of the things that I try to always do is to kind of every once in a while kind of take a step back and really kind of analyze what I'm doing, and making sure I'm not just kind of, putting the blinders on and just kind of going after something, because that can be detrimental as well. Where sometimes if you're just working and you're hustling and you're going hard, even though you feel motivated and you're trying to do something, sometimes take that moment to kind of slow down and really kind of, take a step back and look at, okay, where is it that I'm going? Like, what is it that I'm doing? Is this actually, moving my kind of business and stuff forward? So for me, it's kind of maybe the opposite for some people, is, sometimes I need to take a step back and really kind of look at, right, is there things that I'm ignoring or not paying attention to that I should be, that can help kind of change, my mindset or my perspective on what I'm doing, and help me actually make progress forward, as opposed to just working really hard and hoping things get a different result, I guess. So that's one of the things, I guess, for me. So, and again, I know that might be different for some people. Some people need to be, have more of that, motivation and, keep striving to push themselves forward. But for me, sometimes it's a little bit opposite. I just need to slow down. So, again, sometimes some people have that, some people won't. But that's what I find. I can just speak from my personal experience. So
yeah, and that's great, and it's good to hear that you have both. You have both kinds. You have the ones that I have to take it a step back and just watch it, and then you have other people that you have to all the time think, okay, I'm doing the right thing and keep doing. And I know personally that one problem that I have had is that I'm that person that wants that things happen faster than what they're happening. So I get kind of frustrated because it's not going fast enough. And you have those kind of people too. And then there are the others that maybe goes too fast, or maybe, everyone is different. And I think, I don't know, how do you feel about that? Have you always felt that?
I can totally relate to that. It's funny because in some things I can be really, really patient. And ask any of my friends, and they'll tell you I'm the most patient person ever. But there's some things that I'm just really impatient with, and having that stuff in business is definitely one of them. So I can totally relate to wanting things done yesterday. So that's I totally am with you on that one. And then the one other thing too that I was going to say was maybe just kind of in the terms of the mindset piece was kind of in relation to kind of what I just mentioned, where one of the things that I found was a lot of times, again, because I kind of know what I want to do and, the direction I want to go. But sometimes, again, I kind of put those blinders on and don't seek help from other people. So that's one of, I guess, the biggest mindset shifts that I've had to have is, instead of trying to figure everything out by myself, is who can I go to for advice, and who can I go to make things go quicker? Because, I thought that if I just, did everything myself and made sure it was right and just learned everything and done as quick as I could, then that would make me go faster. But actually slowing down and looking at, okay, like I need help from somewhere, like who can I go to help get me there quicker, faster? That's probably one of the biggest mindset shifts that I've had to have, is to really start to look outside of myself and really look out, and whether that's including your prospects and your clients and what you're doing, whether that's going and finding, actual in-person mentors, which is that's what part of what I'm doing now, is trying to find someone that can help me kind of in person to go to that next level. So really having that mindset shift around not needing to do it all yourself, and you can actually go out and find other people to help you get there quicker and faster. That's one of the biggest things that I think I've realized recently that I think will really kind of help me on the mindset side of things.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know how was 2020 for you, because that's something that has changed a lot of things for me, because I have met so many people during 2020, even if it's virtual. I still met them. And that's one thing that comes across a lot, the helping hand, helping one another and exchanging ideas and exchanging stories, how much it actually gives one another. But how was 2020 for you, both personally and in your business?
2020, I think the biggest thing for me, and this comes from my experience 2020, but also in a lot of other things, and I think it applies, is it really a lot of things take on the meaning that you give it, right? So you have the ability to give that a different meaning. So for me, I know 2020 changed a lot of things for a lot of people, and for me, for example, I'm big into travel. I love traveling. I've been away from home for ever since I finished university. But with COVID, I ended up coming home, and I've been home now for over a year. And it's something that, was a big change for me. And, at first I was kind of like, this is kind of, kind of sucks to be back home. Not in a bad way, but like, I just like to be out and experiencing new things and all that kind of stuff. But then I kind of looked at it as like, what are the positives here? I got to obviously reconnect more with family in person and get to visit with them, who I hadn't really been able to that much in the past few years. I really just had a different appreciation of home and how nice it is here in Canada. Although right now it's snowing and hailing out, so not so nice in terms of the weather right now. But in the summer it's beautiful, and so yeah, it's really kind of had a new appreciation. So personally, I kind of I really enjoyed being home. I am looking to move to Costa Rica here in a couple weeks, so that'll be exciting. Yeah, but yeah, just really on personal side, like I think it was great. Got a chance to do all these positive things, and on the business side, like it's really, I kind of really just started. It was probably a little over a year ago that I kind of really got started, and 2020, gave me that chance to really, sit down and focus and really, put up my all into this business. And now really starting to see that kind of pay off. So I thought 2020 was great business wise. It really kind of, gave me that push to get going and, to make things happen, made a ton of mistakes along the way. But, learned a lot from it, and now kind of moving forward, and, things are going really well on that note. So I thought 2020 was great for me.
I love it. I love the sincerity.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's one of the questions I'm actually gonna keep having with everyone that I have my lives with, because it's so different. And actually, most of the lives that I have done, most people have, felt that they have gotten a new perspective on things, or they have learned to appreciate things in another way. And there's actually just one person that, couldn't agree or didn't feel the same way as others.
Yeah.
But she's in another part of the world, and she has seen something totally different. So it's also good to get that perspective, because that's what I love with the live is that, I have people everywhere. I'm in Sweden and you're in Canada, and I have people in the US, and last week was in Guatemala. So it's nice to have that variation, and to also see that people have such different perspectives depending on where you are as well. So this question actually brings up a lot of, perception of where you are and how you are as a person as well. I love that.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I could tell, like, kind of a little story on that, because it again, this is kind of one of the big things for me, because again, I'm a big fan of travel, and as I was traveling, so I spent a month in Vietnam, and one of the things, obviously, as you're traveling and meeting other people who are doing the same kind of thing, and you start talking about what places they like, what places they didn't like, and invariably you get these people who are like, oh, this place was terrible, right? Don't go there. And it was funny because I always, I would take that with, kind of grain of salt, and I would end up going to this place and absolutely loved it. And so I just, for a while, I was kind of like, what is it that, why do some people find these places really great and some people find them not that great? And one of the things, I guess, just really the kind of attitude that you bring to it. Because, I went out to every place like thinking, this is awesome. Right? I love being here. But meeting all these cool people, and that's the kind of attitude that I brought to the places that I traveled to, and so I had a great time. And there's no place I went to where I was like, oh, this place isn't that great. But a lot of people that I would meet on my travels would be like, I like this place, didn't like that place, and didn't like that place, and I was just kind of like, well, either maybe you met really bad people there, or you just didn't have the right mindset going in. So that's it. I think again, the mindset is such a huge piece. That's just one example that I remember seeing that really come into play was, people just have these completely different opinions and perspectives on a place, even though it's the exact same place. It's just them. It's just their perception of it. So I think the same thing comes with, with the 2020 is, well, what did you perceive it to be? Did you perceive it to be a really big hindrance and, was really terrible for your business or your personal life? And that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of it just comes down to your perception and kind of how you view things.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And it's so funny because, there are people that, if you talk here in Sweden, we kind of had it the easiest way out during COVID. We didn't have the lockdowns and nothing like that. But it's also the fact that people don't understand, Sweden has got a lot of critics because of it. But the thing is that people don't understand that here in Sweden, we already have the distance between each other. We don't live, several generations in the same house. That's not normal here. So when
Right.
when they go out, the politics or whoever goes out and say you have to keep this distance, if you have the tiny symptom of something, you have to stay home, and people actually listen and do that. So it's that's also a perception. People listen to whatever their CNN is saying, and oh, Sweden is so bad because they don't follow the rules, but we are following the rules. It's just that they don't have to be as hard because we already have the social distance. So it's there's just one thing about the perception on how people react on things, and also what we listen. I mean, we are so, how you call it, I mean, the perceptions that we get, it's all about our surroundings and what we're listening all the time. So it's also about making your mind to what am I willing to listen and believe in.
That's awesome.
But let's go back to because with 2020 is something we can talk about a lot, I think. But in your course, or do you have courses, or do you have workshops, or is it just your one-on-ones, or how does it work?
Yeah, but a bit of all of them. Really. So a couple different courses. I have a couple different workshops. Just really, and obviously do some kind of one-on-one coaching and guidance and group coaching, right? So all of those kind of general things, and really it's just about kind of where that's right. What is it that they really need, and then just kind of help them direct. So yeah, there's definitely different things. It just depends on where the person is at and what it is that they need.
Yeah, that's great. Where can people contact you? Do you have a homepage, or is it Facebook, or?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Facebook. That's probably the best place to contact me. And that's where the most information. Or on Facebook, we also have a group called the Movement Makers. So really just about entrepreneurs who want to change the world. So that's kind of the idea. So that's the group as well. If you type in the Movement Makers, you should be able to find it. But yeah, best way is probably to reach out to me, and I can just direct you to wherever would help you best. With whatever business that you guys have.
Yeah, and that's great. So have you changed your business because I know myself when I started my business that I was thinking about doing one thing, and it was, it was about wellness and eating right and moving. And then it kind of moved to both the body and mindset. And now it's more like only mindset. Right. Has it changed a lot for you since you started?
Yeah. So like I said, it's been probably over a year and a half now since I started. And definitely, so I think the idea itself in terms of what I'm trying to accomplish hasn't changed much. But in terms of how I talk about it and how I put that out there, I think that's changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think it's really it's a process to go through. Like no one's going to be perfect right out of the gate. And if you do that, right, let me know. But yeah, it's always this process of evolving and improving and narrow down. So my message has definitely changed a lot since I first started. Because again, so my message right now is try to help entrepreneurs that want to help them create a movement that's going to impact the world. Right, that's kind of the running title as it stands. But it's definitely changed a lot since it started, because first I kind of see it as kind of like a pendulum in a way, where I was too far on this side, then I'd come and go too far on that side, and just kind of narrowing in and really honing that down.
Yeah.
So the message definitely has changed a lot. The overall vision, the overall thing that I'm trying to accomplish, I don't think that doesn't change. But in terms of the exact path I take to get there, that definitely changes.
Yeah, that's great. Is there anything that you would like to tell people that are just starting their business or are in the middle of it, or that they feel that, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah. I'm trying to think what the biggest thing. One of the biggest things that I know, well, two big things that I think, again, that would have really helped me when I first started. One of them is really getting outside of your comfort zone. So one of the big things, and this happens for a lot of people, especially myself, because I was really, again, I was an engineer. That's kind of my mindset, like build systems and kind of be in the background a little bit. And so for me, when I first started in business, I struggled to kind of get out there and actually talk to people and talk to your prospects or your potential clients and all that kind of stuff, and get feedback from them and use that feedback. And that's one of the things that I really struggled with a lot. And I'm realizing more and more how important that is. And even though, again, because everyone's heard the, don't build it and they will come, right? Don't do that. But a lot of us still do it. And whether it's because we're just scared to get out there, whether it's we're not sure how to do it, not sure how to actually approach people, and what it is we should say, what are the things that we're even looking for when we're going out there, talking to our prospects, regardless of what it is, there's nothing that's going to help you more than getting out and talking to your potential clients, your potential customers.
Right.
And that is really huge. It's actually one of the first things, once we kind of help people determine what their mission is and really kind of get their North Star so that they know what direction that they're going. One of the first things I get people to do is to get out there and start talking to people. And it's scary, it's uncomfortable for some people when they're first starting, but it is the most important thing. And it's something that I wish I would have done at the start. So that's one thing, is if you're starting, if you're not sure where to go, where your answers are, they're not I would say it's not internal. Right? The answers that you're looking for, they aren't here. They're actually out there with your prospects. So go and find them. Right? So if you're unsure about what to do next, go ask your clients, go ask your prospects. They'll tell you exactly what you need to do. So that's one thing. And then the other is kind of along the same line, is if you're not sure how to go out and do that, if you're not sure, what steps to take or how to launch or those kinds of things, find someone who can help you do it. That's one of the biggest things. And by find someone, and I mentioned this in terms of, there's different kinds of mentors. You can go and buy a book from somebody. And I still kind of consider that as being a mentor. But I think when you're first starting, and one of the things that I would do is, because I invested quite a bit of money in terms of getting courses and doing those things, and they're great, right? Like they definitely helped. But I think when you're first starting, you're not sure where to start. Don't start with a course. Start with getting somebody who can help you personally, because I think that little bit of accountability and that little bit of being able to personalize that content right for you. So looking out for like a coaching program or something where you can actually personal attention from somebody, I think is actually really, really key. Because I think you're a lot better if you're, for example, if you're first starting out, you're much better getting someone who's maybe they're only doing $100,000 in their business, right? That's what their business is. I think you're much better off getting that person and being able to work with them one-on-one than to buy a course from someone who's doing millions and millions of dollars. So they obviously know more than that person. And maybe even the course is a little bit better than that person's, but you don't have that personal interaction. I would much rather, if I would go back, I would spend my money on, a course or a program where I can actually get that one-on-one support, or at the very least group support, as opposed to a program that might be better, but you're not going to get that support, because that support and help to be able to implement the things that you're learning, that's what's actually going to help you move forward. Because there's a lot of people that, they take courses, and the courses are great, but they don't actually do anything with them. And that's why it's hard. It's much harder to implement than it is to learn. So that's why I think investing in someone, even if they're not as far along as someone as, the alternative, someone that can actually help you and personally guide you take those steps forward. So those are the two things that I would say that I would, if you're unsure to go, if you're feeling overwhelmed, that kind of stuff, look for those two things. Either go out and speak to your audience and get the answers from them, or go find someone who you can, invest into a program or, whatever that looks like, and get support from them one-on-one to help implement, because that's this part. That's the hardest part in entrepreneurship. It's actually implementing the things. So get someone who can help you one-on-one and help you actually implement.
Yeah, I love that. And you are so right. Totally agree with you, because, like you said, you can learn so much out of books. And I don't know how many books I have and I have read, and the amount of courses, they are great. I have gotten a lot from them, but like you said, then all the days to having that person that is pushing you to make it, make that impact bigger. So yeah, I totally agree. So just one last question. How is it for you? Is it easy for you to get outside your comfort zone? Have you gotten like some kind of trick to, just do it?
Well, it depends on, I guess, what it is that's outside of people's comfort zone. But I think for me, it's a muscle, and you hear this from a lot of the people as well that are much better at giving this advice than I am. It's a muscle in terms of, if you get used to getting outside your comfort zone and getting out and doing things that are uncomfortable, you become comfortable with being uncomfortable. So then it's easy to get and push yourself outside of that space. So that's the only thing that I can think of in terms of ways. Actually, well, one other thing, it's not something necessarily that can help you take that action that makes you uncomfortable, but something to at least identify. What I find a lot of times, because we all have our to-do lists and the things that we need to do and that kind of stuff, and very often, because there's a couple of things that we all kind of push off and avoid, and a lot of times those are things that we actually need to do, right? And the reason why we push them off, because it's something that we feel uncomfortable about, or maybe we're not sure about how to do them, and it just makes us uncomfortable and not confident. But a lot of times those are the things that you do. So whenever I find myself mentally kind of I keep pushing something back on my to-do list, usually I'm like, that's probably the important thing that I actually need to do. So let's do that one first. And then we'll get to the rest of the to-do list after. So that's one thing that maybe kind of help identify. The only other thing I could think of, like in that same thing, because I know a lot of people struggle with videos and with going on videos and doing live and that kind of thing. One of the big things that I found, and it's kind of a bit, it's just a little kind of mind trick that I play on myself, and it might work for some people, it might not work for some others. But one of the things I found was I just pretend that nobody's going to watch. Because one of the biggest things is if whenever we kind of mess up on our lives and we forget what to say, a lot of times it's not because we're not good at it. It's not because we don't know what to say. It's because we get in our own heads and make ourselves nervous, and then we forget what to say. Yeah. And one of the things is, if I pretend that nobody's going to watch it, if I think no one's going to watch it, then I don't really care if I screw up. And then if I don't care that I'm going to screw up, I'm actually less likely to screw up because I'm not putting the pressure on myself. Right. So it's a bit of a kind of backwards way. Some people will say, picture everyone's in their underwear or something like that. My version of that is just pretend nobody's going to watch. Yeah. Right? If no one's going to watch, then who cares if you screw up? And if you don't care if you screw up, then you're less likely to, because you're not nervous. So that's maybe one little kind of mind hack that people can use if they're nervous about going on video. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's great, because I have heard a lot of people say, it's so hard to go live, and I say, well, try to do it, just the video yourself, and then put it out there. But yeah, totally. That's a great example.
And I know, because the biggest thing, right, is just, and people know this, right? But once you do it, you get comfortable with it. And I still remember like one of the first times I went to do like, the whole selfie video and that kind of stuff. I remember, because I remember exactly where I was. I was in New Zealand. I was at this waterfall. It was a beautiful place. And I literally sat there for probably about 30 minutes, like holding my phone, trying to like get myself to push the live button. Because I was so nervous of getting on video, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. And it probably took me like, I don't think I ever even posted it. It took me like 4 different takes to actually take a proper video. And then I still messed up, or the lighting was terrible. So I never ended up posting it. But then the next time I did it, it only took me 15 minutes of sitting there with my phone, like trying to will myself to do it. And then it was only 10 minutes, and then I could do it with only a little bit of prep. And so it just got easier and easier. And now it's like, I still sometimes takes a little pause and, still kind of like nervous a little bit, but like now I'm more comfortable with it just because I've done it more.
Yeah.
So it's because it's, something that a lot of people struggle with. And that's why I brought it up as, maybe that could help, because a lot of people do struggle with the whole video thing. And if it helps, a lot of times, if it's some of the first times you're doing video, not a lot of people will watch it. So like there's not a lot of pressure on it. It's not like your first time you go live, 1,000 people are going to watch. Like,
Right.
a couple people might see it. But that's a good thing, right? Because then it allows you to develop that skill, so that whenever it comes time, you actually start to get people watching and you start to get a bit of an audience. You've already done it, a couple dozen times, and you feel a lot more comfortable you doing it yourself.
Yeah, totally. And like you said, I mean, you have to kind of get out of yourself, because it's when you start thinking too much and, oh my God, what people are going to say, is my hair okay? Am I, and that's something that I kind of, because English not being my maternity language, I mean, I speak 3 languages, so I kind of stumble on words. Like, it's okay. I mean, people actually understand me anyway. It's also to, just be comfortable in your own skin, even if you do wrong or say things not exactly as it should be. The important is that the message gets out there.
Yeah. So, well, to even like bring this full circle, like because you're talking about like 2020 and the impact that had. One of the things I was thinking about the other day was like 2020 was awesome, because now it's normal for people to just go live from their kitchen and not really care, because that's just the normal now. Where like before, like, if you think about it, like to go live like 2 years ago, before this whole Corona thing, to go live from your kitchen, you'd be like, oh, people are going to think this is weird. Like they don't want to see the inside of my house. And like, but now it's just so normal that there's a silver lining from 2020 is now it's normal to go live from your kitchen or your bedroom or wherever it is that you're doing your lives from. No one's even going to notice that stuff. And exactly like you said too, like it's one of the things I tell people is that people like could really like if you're a coach or some kind of thing like that, and you're trying to actually help educate and help people with whatever area of their life that you're helping them with, is that people could really, like, honestly, they could care less if your hair is messed up or if your speech isn't perfect. If whatever it is that you're saying, whatever your message is actually genuinely helping people, that's the only thing they're going to remember. They're not going to remember that, one piece of hair was like over this way and the other was off that way. Like they're going to care. They're not going to even notice. Not going to your dogs running around in the background kind of stuff. Like all they're going to care about is if you can actually help them and the content you're putting out there is actually helpful to them, then they're going to think it's awesome.
Yeah. It's so true. So true. So is there anything else that you want to tell us, or to, make people take that step to impact the world?
Yeah. I guess the one thing I can leave everyone with, and the one thing that I really believe in, that's kind of, part of my mission, is that I really believe that entrepreneurs now that have this kind of passion to change the world, that really want to make a difference, I believe there's such a huge power that they have over other businesses that, for example, that don't care about, that kind of, intangible, like, impact kind of aspect. And there's a huge power in having that. And if you can learn to, harness that message in a way and really get out there, that's what's going to attract the right people. And they're really going to be able to understand the kind of, the journey and the kind of impact that you're trying to have. And they're really going to become your fans and come into your business. So I think that's one of the really biggest things, is if you have this kind of desire to have a positive impact on the world with your business, let people know about it. Share that story, because that's really what's going to attract people into your business, is them want to be part of something bigger, right? Them wanting to be part of that mission that you have. So that's one of the things I guess I can leave people with, is that I think that, right, having this mission, having this, right, desire to impact the world is actually such a huge benefit to your business if you can learn to tell that story properly. So tell that story and get used to putting that out there and let people know what it is that you're doing, because people are interested in those kinds of things. So that's one of the things I think I'd like to leave with everyone that's watching.
Yeah. Great, Cameron. Thank you. And yeah, I totally agree with you that it's so important that to tell the world what you're aiming for and what you want to do. I love that. Mm-hmm. So you guys, awesome. Thank you so much for today. And the lives will be still on Facebook and YouTube if you want to watch it. And if you have any questions, I will link Cameron so you can just chat with him directly. So once again, Cameron, thank you so much for being part of this, and I wish you the best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Liana.
Take care, everyone.